The bullet hit Lydia Whitmore between her shoulder blades at high noon on a Tuesday. She didn't scream, didn't cry out, just stumbled forward 3 steps, hand reaching for something that wasn't there, and started to fall. The dust on Main Street hadn't settled from her running feet when Jonah Cade caught her weight against his chest. Blood soaked through her dress, warm and fast. Behind them, Silas Crow lowered his rifle, casual as a man finishing breakfast. "Step aside, Drifter. That's Mr. Concaid's property you're holding." Jonah looked down at the woman bleeding in his arms, looked back at the shooter. His hand found his gun. "She ain't property." The street went silent. Not even the wind moved. Before we continue, if you're invested in seeing justice served and courage stand against power, hit that subscribe button. I need you with me until the very end of this story. And drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far Lydia and Jonah's fight for justice travels. Jonah Cade had been in town exactly 40 minutes when the woman started running. He'd noticed her inside the general store, noticed the way she kept glancing at the street, the way her hands shook counting coins for flour she didn't need. He'd seen that fear before. The kind that lived in a woman's bones, that made her flinch at boot steps and door slams. Then she bolted. He was tying off his horse when the shot cracked across the afternoon heat. The impact drove her forward, arms flung wide like she was trying to fly. Jonah moved without thinking, crossed the distance in 4 strides, caught her before her face hit dirt. The weight of her collapsed against him, and blood, Christ, so much blood, spread across his shirt. "I got you," he said. "I got you." Her eyes were open but unfocused, lips moving, no sound coming out. Behind him, boots crunched gravel. Jonah turned his head, still holding her, and saw the shooter approaching. Tall man, lean, rifle held loose in one hand like he'd just been hunting rabbits. Face like weathered saddle leather, eyes dead calm. "That's far enough," Jonah said. Silas Crow stopped 10 feet away. "This doesn't concern you, stranger. I'm making it concern me. She belongs to Mr. Horace Concaid. She's his wife. Ran off this morning with things that weren't hers. I'm here to bring her back." "You shot her in the back." Silas shrugged. "She was running. Mr. Concaid wants her alive." But he didn't say undamaged. Jonah shifted his weight, settling the woman more securely against him. His right hand stayed free. "You always shoot women in the back?" "When they steal from powerful men, yeah." Silas tilted his head. "You new to how things work in this territory?" "Knew enough not to give a damn." Something flickered in Silas's eyes. Respect, maybe. Or calculation. "You're making a mistake, friend. Horace Concaid owns half this county. The sheriff, the judge, the bank. You stand between him and his property, you won't see tomorrow's sunrise. She's not property. Law says different. Law says a wife belongs to her husband. Then the law's wrong." Silas sighed, shifted his rifle. "Last chance. Hand her over, ride out, live to see another town." Jonah's hand moved to his gun, thumb on the hammer. "No." The street was still silent. Curtains twitched in windows. Faces watched from shadows. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Silas studied him for a long moment. Then he lowered his rifle, just slightly. "All right. But when Concaid comes for you, and he will come, remember I gave you a choice." He turned and walked away. Jonah stood there, this dying woman in his arms, blood pooling at his feet, and felt the weight of every watching eye. Nobody helped. Nobody offered. They just stared. "Where's your doctor?" he called out. Silence. I said, where's your goddamn doctor? A door cracked open. Old man, silver beard, shopkeeper's apron. Doc Miller, end of Oak Street. But he won't. He will. Doc Miller was 70 if he was a day. Hands that shook from too much whiskey and too many years of patching up men who didn't deserve saving. He took one look at Lydia Whitmore on his table and started to close the door. Jonah blocked it with his boot. She's Concaid's wife, Miller said. She's a woman with a bullet in her back. Same thing in this town. No. Jonah pushed the door wider. It ain't. Miller stared at him, at the gun on Jonah's hip, at the determination in his eyes that said he'd use it if he had to. You'll get us both killed, Miller said quietly. Maybe, but she dies right now if you don't help. The old man's shoulders sagged. He stepped aside. Get her on the table, fast. The surgery took 3 hours. Jonah stood by the window, watching the street, hand never far from his weapon. Miller worked in silence, except for occasional muttered curses when his hands betrayed him. Bullet's still in there, Miller finally said, wiping sweat from his forehead. Too close to the spine. I take it out, she might never walk again. Leave it in, she might die from infection. What's the better odds? Neither's good, but leaving it gives her a fighting chance. Maybe. Then leave it. Miller bandaged her, covered her with a thin blanket. She needs rest, needs to stay still for days, maybe weeks. Needs quiet and care, and... He looked at Jonah. She needs protection you can't give her. Watch me. Silas Crow won't come back alone. He'll bring 6, 8 men, armed. And Concaid himself, probably. How long before she wakes up? Could be hours. Could be days. Lost a lot of blood. Jonah pulled up a chair, sat down beside the table. Then I'll wait. When you fell. Memory flooded back. When you fell. Memory flooded back. She tried to sit up, cried out at the pain, collapsed back. Did Silas? I sent him away. He'll come back. I know. She stared at him, really looked at him, saw the stranger who'd put himself between her and a bullet he hadn't earned, who'd defied Horace Concaid for a woman whose name he didn't even know. Why? She whispered. He looked away. Had my reasons. That's not an answer. It's the only one I got right now. She closed her eyes, breathing hard against the pain. I'm Lydia. Lydia Whitmore. And everything Silas said was true. I'm Concaid's wife. I ran. I stole from him. What'd you steal? The truth. Jonah leaned forward. Explain. She opened her eyes. Papers, letters, financial records, names. Evidence that Horace Concaid isn't just a cattle baron. He's a monster. Her voice shook. Women disappear in this territory. Young women, vulnerable women. They come looking for work, for husbands, for new lives, and they vanish. He sells them? Traffics them, to mining camps, to railroad crews, to men who pay well for silence and submission. And anyone who asks questions, anyone who looks too close, either ends up on his payroll or in the ground. The sheriff knows? The sheriff works for him. So does the judge, the mayor, half the town council. Concaid owns this place, root and branch. And you have proof. I buried it, before I ran, in the old church graveyard, in my mother's grave. He'll never think to look there. She coughed, winced. But it doesn't matter now. I'm dead the moment he finds me. You ain't dead yet. He shot me in the back in broad daylight, in front of witnesses, and nobody stopped him. Nobody will. I did. She studied his face. Why? I told you, I had my reasons. Tell me. He was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was rough. I was 12 when my pa killed my mother. Beat her to death in our kitchen while I hid in the barn, too scared to move, too weak to help. She died knowing I heard every scream and did nothing. Lydia's breath caught. I've spent 20 years trying to outrun that. Trying to become the kind of man who doesn't hide when a woman screams. He met her eyes. So when you ran, when he shot you, when everyone else stood back, I couldn't. Not again. Silence settled between them, heavy with shared pain. I'm sorry, she whispered. Don't be. Just live. Live and make that son of a bitch pay for what he's done. How? The evidence is buried. I can barely move. Concaid will send his whole crew. Then we move you somewhere he can't reach. There's nowhere in this territory he can't reach. There's always somewhere. Jonah stood, checked his gun. There's a cabin in the high pines, old trapper's place. Nobody knows about it but me. We get you there, you heal, we figure out the rest. You'd do that? Risk your life for a stranger? You ain't a stranger anymore. They didn't make it 2 days. Silas returned with 7 men, all armed, all loyal to Concaid's money. They surrounded Doc Miller's house at dawn, guns drawn, demands shouted through the door. Send out Mrs. Concaid and the drifter with her. Miller opened the door, hands raised. They're gone. Gone where? Didn't say. Left in the night. Silas pushed past him, searched every room, found nothing. Came back outside, face dark. You're lying. I'm old and I'm tired and I'm telling the truth. They left. I don't know where. One of the men raised his rifle toward Miller's chest. Maybe we should encourage your memory. Silas raised a hand. No, Concaid wants them alive. We kill the doc, we learn nothing. He turned to his crew. Split up, search every road out of town, check the river, the ravines, anywhere they could have gone. They're on foot, she's wounded. They can't have gotten far. But they had. Jonah had carried Lydia out the back window 2 hours before dawn, through alleys and yards, staying in shadows, moving fast, despite her weight and his exhaustion. He'd stolen a horse from a stable, left coins to pay for it, and ridden north into the hills. By the time Silas found their trail, they were 8 miles gone and climbing. The cabin was exactly as he remembered it, remote, hidden, defensible. He got her inside, laid her on the single cot, started a fire. She was feverish, pale, breathing shallow. "Jonah," she murmured. "I'm here." "They'll find us." "Maybe." "When they do, leave me. Save yourself." "No." "I'm not worth dying for." He looked at her, this woman who'd risked everything to expose evil, who'd taken a bullet rather than surrender, who still thought she wasn't worth saving. "You're wrong," he said. "You're worth every fight I got left in me." She closed her eyes. Tears slipped down her cheeks. Outside, in the distance, dogs started barking. Jonah checked his ammunition. 6 bullets in his gun, 24 in his belt. Against 8 men, maybe more. "They're coming," Lydia whispered. "I know." "What do we do?" He looked at her, at the determination still burning in her eyes despite the pain, despite the fever, despite everything. "We fight," he said, "and we don't stop fighting until they do." She nodded, tried to sit up, failed. "I can't even stand." "You don't need to stand. You just need to breathe, stay alive, and trust me." "I barely know you." Then get to know me fast, because we're in this together now, whether we like it or not." The dogs got louder, closer. Jonah moved to the window, gun drawn, and waited for the world to come knocking. The first shot shattered the window glass 2 minutes later. Jonah dropped low, returned fire blind, heard a man curse outside. Lydia dragged herself off the cot, crawling toward the corner where he'd stashed the rifles. "Stay down," Jonah said. "Give me a gun." "You can't even stand." "I can shoot lying down." She reached the rifles, pulled one toward her, checked the chamber. Her hands were steady despite the fever. "How many?" 8, maybe more." "How much ammunition?" "Enough to make them regret coming." Another shot punched through the door, then another, testing their defenses, measuring their response. Silas's voice carried through the trees. "Jonah Cade, you're surrounded. Send out Mrs. Concaid and you can ride away from this." Jonah didn't answer. Just watched the tree line, counting shadows, calculating angles. "I know you can hear me," Silas called. "There's no way out. We got men on every side. You're just delaying the inevitable." Lydia crawled to the opposite window, rifle barrel resting on the sill. "He's right. We can't win this." "Winning ain't the point." "Then what is?" "Surviving long enough for them to make a mistake." She looked at him. "That's not a plan." "It's the only one we got." A man broke from the trees, running low toward the cabin. Jonah fired. The man went down screaming. Not dead, but out of the fight. The others pulled back, regrouped. "You just killed your chance," Silas shouted. "That was mercy I offered. Won't offer it again." Jonah reloaded, calm and methodical. Lydia watched him, saw the focus in his movements, the absolute absence of fear. This was a man who'd made peace with dying a long time ago. "Jonah," she said quietly. "Yeah? Thank you. For not leaving me. Thank me when we're alive tomorrow." She almost smiled. "You think we'll make it that long?" "I think we'll make them pay for every minute, either way." The assault came fast. 3 men rushing from different directions, laying down covering fire, trying to overwhelm their defenses. Jonah took the north window, Lydia the south. They fired together, practiced and precise, despite never having fought side by side before. 2 men went down. The third made it to the cabin wall, started trying to break through. Jonah moved, fast, yanked open the door, and fired point blank. The man collapsed backward, gun falling from his hand. 4 down, 4 to go. But the next wave didn't come. Silence stretched. Minutes passed. Nothing moved in the trees. "They're planning something," Lydia said. "Yeah. What would you do?" Jonah thought about it. "Burn us out." Her face went pale. "The cabin's all wood." "I know." "We'd have minutes before the smoke kills us." "I know that too." She gripped the rifle tighter. "So we wait?" "We wait." The smoke came 20 minutes later, thick and black, pouring through gaps in the walls. They'd piled brush against the back of the cabin, set it ablaze, let the wind do the work. Jonah grabbed what supplies he could, stuffed them in a saddlebag. Lydia tried to stand, failed, grabbed his arm instead. "Leave me," she said through coughing. "You can still make it." "No. Jonah, I can't walk. I'll slow you down. They'll kill us both." He lifted her, one arm under her knees, one behind her back. "Then they'll have to kill us both." The fire was spreading, flames licking up the walls, heat becoming unbearable. He kicked open the front door, prepared to run straight into gunfire. Instead, he ran into chaos. Silas and his remaining men were shouting at each other, pointing toward the ridge. Jonah followed their gaze and saw riders approaching. 6 of them, moving fast, rifles raised. "It's Concaid," Lydia whispered. "He came himself." But the riders weren't slowing down. They were charging straight at Silas's men, weapons firing, and suddenly the hunters became the hunted. Jonah didn't wait to understand. He ran, Lydia in his arms, into the trees, away from the burning cabin, away from the gunfight erupting behind them. They made it 50 yards before he had to stop, lungs burning, arms shaking. He set her down against a tree, collapsed beside her. "Who were they?" she gasped. "Don't know, don't care. They bought us time." "We need to keep moving." "You need to rest." "I've been resting, while you fought for me, while you saved my life, again." She looked at him, eyes fierce despite the pain. "I'm done resting." Gunfire still echoed behind them, men screaming, horses scattering. Then, gradually, silence. Jonah tensed, hand on his gun. A voice called out, unfamiliar, careful. "Jonah Cade? That you in there?" "Who's asking?" A man emerged from the trees, hands visible, no weapon drawn. Late 50s, weathered face, deputy's badge on his chest. "Name's Warren Cole. I'm from Millstone County, 2 days' ride west." "Long way to come for a fight." "Heard you were standing up to Horace Concaid. Figured you could use some help." "How'd you hear?" "Doc Miller sent word. Said a drifter was protecting a woman with evidence against Concaid. Said if anyone with a conscience was listening, now was the time to act." Warren looked at Lydia. "You her?" She nodded. "You really got proof? Real proof that'll stand up?" "Buried in the church graveyard. Letters, records, names of missing women. Signatures from men on his payroll. Enough to hang him 10 times over." Warren let out a low whistle. "Then we better get you somewhere safe before Concaid realizes his men failed." "They're dead?" Jonah asked. "Most of them, Silas Crow included. Took 3 bullets before he went down. Tough bastard." Lydia's breath caught. "Silas is dead?" "Yes, ma'am." She closed her eyes. Something like relief, something like grief, passed across her face. Silas had been Concaid's right hand for a decade. Brutal, efficient, loyal. His death meant war was coming. Real war. And Concaid wouldn't stop until everyone involved was buried. "This doesn't end it," she said. "Concaid will bring his whole empire down on us." "Then we better move fast." Warren gestured toward the ridge. "I got a wagon waiting. We'll take you back to Millstone, get you healed proper, get that evidence secured." "Concaid owns judges in Millstone, too," Lydia said. "Not the one I know. Federal judge, appointed by Washington. Can't be bought, can't be threatened. You testify in front of him. With that evidence, Concaid's finished." Jonah helped Lydia to her feet, supported her weight. "Why are you helping us?" Warren's face darkened. "Because my daughter disappeared 3 years ago. Came to this territory looking for work as a school teacher. Never heard from her again. Sheriff told me she probably ran off with some cowboy. Told me to stop asking questions." "You think Concaid?" "I know Concaid. My daughter's name will be in those records, won't it?" Lydia nodded slowly. "Probably, yes." "Then let's go get them." The wagon ride took 6 hours, every bump and rut sending fresh pain through Lydia's back. She bit her lip bloody rather than cry out, refused the laudanum Warren offered, stayed conscious and alert. Jonah rode beside the wagon, scanning the horizon, waiting for Concaid's men to appear. They didn't. Not that day. But everyone knew they would. By the time they reached Millstone, word had spread. The town knew a woman was coming with evidence. Knew Silas Crow was dead. Knew Horace Concaid's empire was about to face its reckoning. The federal judge, a stern-faced man named Marcus Brennan, took one look at Lydia and ordered her to the doctor. Then he turned to Warren. "You're sure about this?" "I'm sure. Because once we start, there's no stopping. Concaid will come with lawyers, with threats, with money. He'll burn this town to the ground before he lets a woman destroy him." "Then let him try." Brennan looked at Jonah. "And you? What's your stake in this?" "I caught her when she fell. That made it my fight." "That's all?" "That's enough." The judge studied him for a long moment. "You'll need to testify about the shooting, about Concaid's men attacking you, about everything you witnessed." "I'll testify." "Good, because this is going to trial, and I mean to see justice done properly." Brennan pulled out a pocket watch, checked it. "We'll exhume the evidence tomorrow morning. I'll swear out a warrant for Concaid's arrest by noon. With any luck, we'll have him in custody before he knows what's coming." But luck wasn't with them. Concaid arrived at dawn with 30 armed men. Not to fight, to negotiate. He rode straight to the courthouse, climbed the steps, knocked on the judge's door like a gentleman calling for tea. When Brennan opened it, Concaid smiled. "Your Honor, I believe there's been a terrible misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding. I have testimony placing you at the center of a trafficking operation." "Testimony from a disturbed woman who fled her marriage and a drifter with a criminal past?" Concaid shook his head. "Hardly credible." "We'll let a jury decide that." "Will we?" Concaid's smile widened. "Because I have 20 lawyers who say this court lacks jurisdiction. I have bank statements showing I've donated generously to this town's development. I have signed affidavits from 36 upstanding citizens attesting to my character." He leaned closer. "And I have 30 armed men outside who are very loyal to me." "Are you threatening this court?" "I'm reminding you of reality, Your Honor. My wife is mentally unwell. She needs treatment, not a courtroom. And this drifter assaulted my employee, killed multiple men. He's the criminal here, not me." Brennan's jaw tightened. "Get out of my courthouse." "I'll leave, but think carefully about what you're doing. Think about how many people depend on my business for their livelihood. Think about what happens when I withdraw my support from this town." Concaid turned to go, paused. "And think about your family, Judge. You have grandchildren, don't you? Be a shame if anything happened to them." Jonah was outside, heard every word through the open window. His hand moved to his gun. Warren caught his wrist. "Not here. Not like this. He just threatened the judge's family. And if you shoot him in front of witnesses, you'll hang. That's what he wants. He wants you to make a mistake." Jonah forced his hand away from the weapon. "So what do? We do what Lydia wanted from the start. We expose him, publicly, undeniably. We make sure the whole territory sees what he is." Concaid mounted his horse, tipped his hat to the gathered crowd. "Good people of Millstone, I apologize for this disruption. My wife is unwell, and I only want to bring her home for the care she needs. If anyone has seen her, please let me know. There will be a generous reward." Some people looked away. Others nodded sympathetically. Concaid had spent years building his reputation, buying loyalty, creating the image of a respectable businessman. One woman's testimony wouldn't destroy that overnight. He rode out of town, calm and confident. And Lydia, watching from the doctor's window, felt something inside her shift. "He's not going to lose," she said. Jonah was beside her. "Yes, he is. You heard him. Lawyers, money, threats. He'll tie this up in court for years. And even if we win, People will still doubt. They'll still whisper that I'm crazy, that I made it all up. So what do you want to do? She turned to face him. I want to dig up that evidence myself. I want to walk into that courthouse with my mother's bones still on my hands and make everyone look at what he's done. I want them to see me bleeding, standing, refusing to be silent. I want to take away his power to control the narrative. You can barely walk. Then help me walk. Lydia. He shot me in the back, Jonah. He burned your cabin. He killed God knows how many women. And he's standing in the streets, smiling, confident he'll walk away from all of it. Her voice broke. I won't let him. I can't. Jonah looked at her, at the steel in her eyes, the absolute refusal to surrender. This woman who'd been shot, hunted, nearly burned alive, and still wouldn't break. All right, he said. We'll do it your way. You'll help me? I'll help you burn his whole goddamn empire to the ground, if that's what it takes. She took his hand, squeezed it. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This is going to get worse before it gets better. I know. He'll come after you harder than ever. Let him try. Outside, storm clouds gathered on the horizon. Inside, two people who'd been strangers 5 days ago prepared for a war that would define both their lives. And in a mansion 20 miles away, Horace Concaid poured himself whiskey and planned his next move, confident that power always won in the end. He was about to learn different. They rode out at first light, just the three of them, Jonah, Lydia, and Warren. The federal judge wanted to send armed guards, but Lydia refused. The more men we bring, the more it looks like we're the aggressors, she said. I want people to see a wounded woman going to her mother's grave, not an army. Concaid's got spies everywhere, Warren warned. He'll know the moment we leave town. Good. Let him watch. Let him see I'm not hiding anymore. The old church was 15 miles east, abandoned for a decade after the congregation moved to newer buildings. The graveyard was overgrown, headstones tilted and weathered. Lydia's mother had been buried there 12 years ago, before Concaid, before everything went wrong. Lydia dismounted slowly, leaning on Jonah for support. Every step toward the grave sent pain shooting through her back, but she kept moving. There, she said, pointing to a simple stone marker. Sarah Whitmore, beloved mother and wife. Warren had brought shovels. He and Jonah started digging while Lydia stood watch, rifle in her hands despite the agony it caused to hold it steady. They were 3 feet down when the riders appeared. 6 men, spread across the ridge, watching but not approaching. Concaid's men, no question. Keep digging, Lydia said. They're just going to sit there? Warren asked. For now, he wants to see what we find first. Jonah hit something solid. A wooden box, simple pine, sealed with wax. He lifted it out carefully, set it on the grass. Lydia knelt beside it, hands shaking. Last time I touched this, I thought I'd be dead within the hour. You almost were, Jonah said quietly. She broke the seal, opened the lid. Inside, wrapped in oilcloth, were the papers. Letters in Concaid's handwriting. Financial ledgers showing payments to sheriffs, judges, railroad officials. A list of names, 37 women, marked with dates and prices. Transportation manifests. Bills of sale disguised as employment contracts. Warren picked up one of the letters, read it, and his face went white. Dear God. What? This is a letter to a mining foreman, offering fresh workers for his camps, guaranteeing their silence and compliance. His voice cracked. It's dated 2 months after my daughter disappeared. Lydia touched his arm. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Just make sure this bastard hangs for it. The riders on the ridge hadn't moved, but more were coming. Lydia counted 9 now, then 12, "We need to go," Jonah said. They loaded the box onto Warren's horse, started riding back. The men followed, keeping distance, not attacking, just watching. "Why aren't they stopping us?" Warren asked. "Because Concaid's smarter than that," Lydia said. "He attacks us out here, it proves everything we're saying. He's waiting for us to get to town, waiting to see if the judge will actually issue the warrant. And if he does, then Concaid will make his move." They rode hard, reached Millstone by noon. The whole town was in the streets, waiting. Word had spread fast. The woman who'd been shot was back, and she had proof. Judge Brennan met them at the courthouse steps, took the box from Warren, opened it right there in public view. His face remained impassive as he read, but his hands tightened on the papers. "Mrs. Concaid," he said formally, "do you swear that these documents are authentic and obtained from your husband's personal records?" "I do." "And you will testify under oath as to their origin and contents?" "I will." Brennan looked at the crowd, at the faces watching, at the riders still visible on the edge of town. "Then, as a federal judge appointed by the United States government, I hereby issue a warrant for the arrest of Horace Concaid on charges of human trafficking, conspiracy to commit murder, and obstruction of justice." The crowd erupted, some cheering, some shouting in protest, some just stunned into silence. And on the ridge, the riders turned and galloped away. "He knows," Lydia said. "He'll run," Warren said. "Man like that, he'll have money hidden, routes planned." "No," Lydia shook her head. "He won't run. Running means admitting guilt. He'll fight. He'll come here with everything he has and try to destroy this evidence before it can be used against him." Brennan's jaw set. "Let him try. I'll have federal marshals here by tomorrow. Tomorrow might be too late. Then we hold until they arrive." The judge turned to Warren. "Deputy, I'm deputizing every able-bodied man in this town. We're going to defend this courthouse and that evidence with our lives, if necessary. Your Honor, most of these men have families. Concaid burns their ranches, kills their livestock. They'll have nothing left. Then they'll have nothing left but their integrity. Sometimes that has to be enough." Lydia swayed on her feet. Jonah caught her before she fell. "You need to rest," he said. "I need to be ready when he comes. You can barely stand. I'll stand when I have to." He looked at her, at the fever in her eyes, the determination that was eating her alive from the inside. "Lydia, you've done enough. You got the evidence. You testified. I haven't finished. Not until he's behind bars or in the ground. You're going to kill yourself trying. Better than living knowing I gave up." He wanted to argue, wanted to drag her to the doctor, lock her in a room, force her to survive, even if it meant surviving as a coward. But he knew that look, had seen it in the mirror often enough. The look of someone who'd rather die fighting than live broken. "All right," he said. "But you're eating something first, and drinking water, and letting the doctor check that wound." "Fine." "And you're sleeping, even if it's just an hour." "Jonah, those are my terms. You want my help, you accept them." She studied his face, saw he meant it. 1 hour. 2. 1.5. Deal. He walked her to the doctor's office, made sure she ate, watched her fall asleep the moment her head touched the pillow. Then he went back outside to help Warren organize the town's defense. 32 men volunteered to stand guard. Some were farmers, some merchants, some drifters like Jonah, who just happened to be in town when history came calling. Warren positioned them around the courthouse, rifles loaded, watching all approaches. "You really think he'll attack in broad daylight?" one of the volunteers asked. "I think he'll do whatever it takes to protect his empire," Warren said. "And I think we're about to find out what that means." They found out at sunset. Concaid came with 60 men, not riding hard, not shooting, just walking their horses down Main Street, slow and deliberate, like a funeral procession. Concaid himself rode at the front, dressed in his finest suit, hat tilted against the dying sun. He stopped 50 feet from the courthouse. "Judge Brennan," he called out, "I'm here to surrender myself to your authority." Silence. Nobody had expected that. Brennan stepped onto the courthouse steps. "You're surrendering?" "I am, on the condition that you allow me to address these charges in a fair and public trial." "I have nothing to hide, Your Honor. I welcome the opportunity to clear my name." "You're saying you didn't traffic those women?" "I'm saying those documents are forgeries, created by my mentally unstable wife in an attempt to destroy me after I refused to continue enabling her laudanum addiction." Lydia appeared in the doorway behind the judge, leaning on the frame, face pale but eyes blazing. "Liar!" Concaid looked at her. "Lydia, darling, please. You're unwell. Let me bring you home, get you the treatment you need." "You shot me in the back." "Silas acted without my authorization. I was horrified when I heard. He's been dealt with accordingly." "He's dead." "Yes, and I grieve that loss. But his actions were his own. I only ever wanted to protect you." The crowd was listening, watching. Some faces showed doubt now. Concaid was smooth, convincing, playing the role of concerned husband perfectly. Lydia pushed away from the doorframe, took 3 painful steps forward. "You're a monster, and these people deserve to know what you've done." "What I've done is build this territory, created jobs, brought prosperity, supported churches and schools. I've made mistakes, certainly, been too trusting of my employees. But trafficking? Murder?" He shook his head. "Those are the delusions of a sick woman who needs help, not a courtroom." Warren stepped forward. "What about my daughter, Rebecca Cole? She came here 3 years ago, never came home. What's your explanation for that?" "I'm sorry for your loss, Deputy. But young women make their own choices. Some run away. Some meet with accidents. I can't be blamed for every tragedy in this territory." "Her name is in your records." "Records my wife claims to have found. Records that could easily be fabricated." "Have you verified the handwriting? Checked the paper quality? Confirmed the dates match actual events?" Concaid spread his hands. "I'm a businessman, not a criminal, and I'm willing to prove that in court." He was winning. Jonah could see it in the crowd's faces, the doubts spreading, the whispers starting. This was what Concaid did best. Twist the narrative, make himself the victim, make the truth sound like lies. Lydia saw it too. "You want to prove it? Then explain the money. The ledgers show payments to Sheriff Rollins, Judge Carter, Mayor Thompson. Explain those." "Campaign contributions, charitable donations, all perfectly legal." "Explain the bills of sale." "Employment contracts. I help women find work. Is that a crime?" "Explain the letters describing how to keep them silent." "I never wrote those letters. If they exist, someone else put my name on them." He looked directly at her. "Perhaps someone desperate to hurt me after I discovered her addiction and refused to finance it anymore." She took another step, nearly fell. Jonah moved to catch her, but she waved him off. "I'm not addicted to anything." "The doctor in our town prescribed you laudanum for your melancholy. I have his records." "That was 2 years ago, for 1 month after my mother died." "Addiction takes many forms, darling, and it makes people do terrible things." His voice softened, became almost gentle. "Please, let me help you. Come home. Get well. We can work through this together." "I'd rather die." Don't say that. You're my wife. I love you." Jonah had heard enough. He stepped forward, hand on his gun. "She's not going anywhere with you." Concaid's eyes shifted to him. "And you are?" "The man who caught her when she fell, when your man shot her in the back." Silas made a tragic mistake, one I deeply regret. "You don't regret anything except getting caught." "Careful, Drifter. Making accusations against a man of my standing could have consequences." "Is that a threat?" "It's a statement of fact." Concaid glanced at his 60 men, then back at the courthouse. "I count 32 guns on your side. I have 60. I'm trying to resolve this peacefully, but if you insist on protecting a mentally unstable woman who's making false accusations, well..." He trailed off, let the implication hang. Warren raised his rifle. "You attack this courthouse, you're attacking federal authority." "I'm not attacking anything. I'm simply pointing out that should violence occur, it would be tragically one-sided." Brennan's voice cut through the tension. "This conversation is over. Mr. Concaid, you claim you want to surrender. Fine. Dismount, dismiss your men, and place yourself in custody. We'll hold you here until the federal marshals arrive." "And the evidence?" "Will be secured and presented at trial." "I want my lawyers present when it's examined." "You'll get a fair trial, same as any man," Concaid smiled. "Then I accept your terms. But first, I'd like a moment alone with my wife, to say goodbye, properly." "No," Lydia said immediately. "I'm not asking to be alone. The judge can be present. I simply want to speak with you one last time before I'm locked away." "No." "Please, Lydia, 5 minutes. That's all I ask." She looked at him. This man she'd been married to for 8 years. This man who'd beaten her in private and praised her in public. Who'd made her feel worthless while telling the world how much he loved her. And she realized something. He was scared. Not of jail, not of trial, but of her. Of her voice, of her refusal to be silent anymore. "All right," she said. 5 minutes, in front of everyone." Concaid dismounted, walked toward the steps. His men stayed mounted, hands near weapons, watching every movement. He stopped 3 feet from Lydia, close enough to speak quietly, but not close enough to touch. "You've made a terrible mistake," he said, voice low. "The only mistake I made was marrying you. These people won't believe you. I've spent 10 years building trust. You think some papers and a sob story will destroy that? I think the truth has a way of coming out." "The truth?" He laughed, soft and bitter. "The truth is you were nothing when I found you. A poor girl from a dead-end town with no prospects and no future. I gave you everything. A home, status, security. And this is how you repay me? You gave me a prison. I gave you a life. You gave me bruises and fear and nightmares." Her voice shook, but didn't break. "You told me I was worthless, that no one would believe me, that I belonged to you. You do belong to me. You're my wife." "Not anymore." His face hardened. "You can't divorce me. I'll never allow it." "I don't need your permission." "You need a judge's permission, and every judge in this territory knows where their loyalties lie. Judge Brennan doesn't work for you. Not yet. But he has a family, grandchildren. Things can happen to families. Accidents, tragedies. Would be terrible if..." Jonah's gun was out and pressed against Concaid's temple before he could finish the sentence. "Finish that thought," Jonah said quietly. "Please." Concaid went very still. "You're making this worse." "No, I'm making it clear. You threaten her, you threaten the judge, you threaten anyone trying to do right. You'll have to go through me. And I promise you, I won't miss. Shoot me and my men kill everyone in this courthouse. Maybe, but you'll still be dead." They stood there, frozen, the whole town holding its breath. Then Lydia spoke. "Put the gun down, Jonah." "Lydia, put it down. He wants you to shoot him, wants to be the martyr. Don't give him that." Jonah's finger tightened on the trigger. Every instinct screamed to end this now, to put a bullet in this monster's brain and damn the consequences. But she was right. He lowered the gun. Concaid smiled. "Smart girl. You always were smarter than you looked." "Get away from her," Brennan ordered. "Now, or I'll have you shot where you stand." Concaid stepped back, raised his hands. "Of course, Your Honor. I apologize for my wife's distress. It pains me to see her like this. Save it for the trial." "There won't be a trial." Concaid's smile widened. "There'll be a tragedy, a terrible accident, maybe a fire, maybe a collapse. These old buildings, you never know when they might just—" He snapped his fingers. "Fall apart." "That's enough," Brennan shouted. "You're under arrest. Warren, take him into custody." But before Warren could move, Concaid whistled, and his 60 men raised their rifles. "I don't think so," Concaid said calmly. "I think we're leaving now, and you're going to hand over those documents, and my wife. And then maybe, nobody has to die today." "You're insane," Brennan said. "I'm practical. You're outnumbered 2-1. You have civilians, shopkeepers, farmers. I have professional gunmen who've killed before and will kill again without hesitation. This doesn't have to end in bloodshed, but if it does, you'll lose." Lydia swayed again, caught herself on the railing. The wound in her back was bleeding through her bandage. Jonah could see it spreading across her dress. "Let her go," Concaid said to Jonah, "or watch her die knowing you couldn't save her." Jonah looked at Lydia, at the woman who'd been shot, hunted, nearly burned alive, and still refused to surrender. The woman who'd rather die standing than live kneeling. "What do you want to do?" he asked her quietly. She met his eyes. "I want to fight." "You can barely stand." "Then I'll fight sitting down." And before anyone could stop her, she raised the rifle she'd been holding and fired. The bullet hit the horse next to Concaid. The animal screamed, reared, crashed into 2 others. Chaos erupted, men shouting, horses bolting, guns firing in every direction. Warren's defenders opened up from the courthouse windows. Concaid's men returned fire. Bullets tore through wood, shattered glass, ricocheted off stone. Jonah grabbed Lydia, pulled her behind the courthouse wall. "You just started a war." "Good." She was reloading, hands steady despite the blood loss. "I'm done running, done hiding, done letting him control the narrative." "You're going to get yourself killed." "Then I'll die free." The firefight lasted 7 minutes. 7 minutes of gun smoke and screaming and bodies hitting the dirt. When it ended, 12 of Concaid's men were down, 3 of Warren's defenders were dead, and Horace Concaid was gone. He'd escaped in the chaos, riding hard with the survivors, leaving his wounded behind. Lydia collapsed against the wall, rifle falling from her hands. Jonah caught her, eased her down. Her back was soaked with blood. "Doc!" he shouted. "I need the doc now!" But the doctor was already dead, caught in the crossfire. And Lydia, the woman who'd started a war, was dying in his arms for the 2nd time in a week. Warren's wife had been a nurse during the war. She came running, took one look at Lydia's back, and started giving orders like a general. "Get her inside. Clear that table. I need clean water, whiskey, and every piece of cloth you can find." They carried Lydia into the courthouse, laid her face down on Judge Brennan's desk. She was conscious, but fading fast, breathing shallow. "The bullet shifted," Warren's wife said, pressing cloth against the wound. "Probably when she fired that rifle. It's bleeding into muscle now, maybe worse." "Can you stop it?" Jonah asked, I can try, but I'm not a surgeon. I sewed up soldiers, patched holes, that's all. Then patch this one. She looked at him, saw the desperation in his eyes. Son, if I go in there and hit the wrong thing, she'll be paralyzed or dead in minutes. And if you don't, she'll be dead in an hour. Lydia's hand found Jonah's, gripped it weak. Do it. You sure? He asked. I didn't come this far to die quiet. Her words came in gasps. Cut me open, if that's what it takes. Warren's wife, her name was Margaret, sterilized a knife in the fire, poured whiskey over her hands, and went to work. No anesthetic except what remained of the laudanum from the doctor's bag. Lydia bit down on leather, tears streaming, but she didn't scream. Jonah held her hand through it all, felt every tremor, every spike of pain that shot through her body. Margaret worked fast, fingers sure, despite the shake in her voice when she spoke. Got it. Bullets out. But the bleeding, Christ, there's so much blood. Cauterize it, Warren said. That'll leave scars. She's already got scars. Keep her alive. Margaret heated the knife again, pressed it against torn flesh. The smell of burning meat filled the room. Lydia's grip on Jonah's hand tightened until he thought bones would break, then went slack. She'd passed out. That's better, Margaret muttered. Easier to work when they're not fighting me. 20 minutes later, she stepped back, wiping blood from her hands. She might live, might not. Next 12 hours will tell. What are her chances? Jonah asked. Honest answer? 30%, maybe less. Then make it more. I'm not God, son. I've done what I can. Judge Brennan appeared in the doorway, face grave. We've got bigger problems. Concaid's men are regrouping outside town, more coming in from his ranch. We're looking at 100 armed men by nightfall. Let them come, Warren said. We've got the courthouse, the evidence. We've got 3 dead defenders and a town full of terrified civilians who just watched a gunfight in their streets. Brennan's voice was heavy. Half of them are already talking about handing over the evidence to stop the bloodshed. Jonah stood. The evidence is the only thing keeping Lydia alive. He gets it. He'll kill her, and everyone who helped her. I know that, but try telling it to a shopkeeper whose store just took 15 bullets. Or a mother whose son caught a stray round in the leg. The judge rubbed his face. We're losing the town, Jonah. They're scared, and scared people don't make brave choices. Then we don't give them a choice. What's that mean? It means we take the fight to Concaid before he brings it here again. Warren shook his head. That's suicide. He's got a fortress out there, armed guards, everything. He's also got his pride and his reputation. Jonah looked at the evidence box, still sitting on Brennan's desk beneath Lydia's bleeding body. What if we didn't wait for marshals? What if we made this public right now? How? Ride to every town within 50 miles. Show them the evidence. Let them read it themselves. Make copies. Spread them everywhere. By tomorrow morning, every newspaper in the territory will have Concaid's signature on trafficking orders. He can't kill everyone who knows. Brennan considered it. That might work. It'll make him desperate, Warren warned. Desperate men do desperate things. He's already desperate. That's why he attacked in daylight with 60 men. Jonah moved to the window, looked out at the wounded being carried away, the dead being covered. We keep playing defense, we lose. Time to attack. What about Lydia? Jonah looked back at her unconscious form on the table, chest rising and falling with shallow breaths. She started this war because she was tired of being powerless, tired of men like Concaid controlling everything. We finish it the way she wanted, out in the open, with everyone watching. Margaret spoke up quietly. She's stable enough to move if we're careful. I wouldn't recommend it. But if you're right about Concaid coming back, then we move her, Jonah decided. Get her somewhere safe while we spread the evidence. There's nowhere safe, Warren said. There's one place. Jonah turned to Brennan. The federal courthouse in Sentinel City. 3 days' ride. They've got marshals, telegraphs, newspapers. We get there, we turn this into something bigger than Concaid can bury. She won't survive 3 days on horseback. She won't survive here either when Concaid comes back with 100 men. The judge was silent, weighing options. Finally, he nodded. All right, but we need a distraction. Something to pull Concaid's attention while you run. I'll give you a distraction, Warren said grimly. I'll take the evidence, ride north toward Silver Creek. Make sure his scouts see me. He'll chase me thinking I'm trying to hide it. They'll kill you. Maybe, but I've got nothing left to lose. My daughter's name is in those papers. That's all the reason I need. He picked up the box. Besides, you'll have copies. That's the beauty of the plan, right? He can't stop what he can't catch. Margaret had already started packing supplies, bandages, medicine, food. I'm coming with you. She'll need someone who knows how to treat that wound. Ma'am, you don't have to. My husband's going to die drawing Concaid away. You think I'm staying here to watch him ride off alone? Her voice cracked, but held firm. I'm coming. Don't argue. They worked fast, made 3 copies of every document, packed them in different bags. Warren would take the original north. Jonah and Margaret would take Lydia and 1 set of copies east toward Sentinel City. The 3rd set would stay with Judge Brennan, hidden in the courthouse in case both other groups failed. What about me? Brennan asked. You hold this town. Keep people calm. Stall Concaid if he comes back. Tell him we're negotiating, that we'll trade the evidence for safe passage. Buy us time. He won't believe that. Doesn't matter if he believes it. Just matters if he hesitates. They moved Lydia to a wagon, cushioned with blankets. She woke halfway through, gasped at the pain. Where? Moving you somewhere safe, Jonah said. The evidence. Already copied and spreading. Warren's leading Concaid on a chase north. We're going east. She tried to sit up, failed. You're splitting up the proof. Best way to make sure it survives. Warren could die. He knows. He's choosing it anyway. Tears slipped down her face. Not from pain this time. All these people, fighting for me, dying for me. They're not fighting for you. They're fighting for what you represent. For the idea that women like you, like Warren's daughter, matter. That the truth matters. Jonah climbed into the wagon beside her. You lit the fuse, Lydia, but the explosion was always coming. Margaret joined them, settled into the driver's seat. Ready? Ready. They rolled out of Millstone as the sun set, Warren riding hard in the opposite direction, and Judge Brennan standing on the courthouse steps, watching 3 different kinds of hope disappear into the growing dark. Concaid's men spotted Warren within the hour. The chase was on. But while 60 riders thundered north after him, Jonah's wagon crept east through back trails and forgotten roads, moving slow to spare Lydia's wound, stopping every few miles so Margaret could check the bleeding. It's holding, she said after the 3rd check. Barely, but holding. They drove through the night. Lydia drifted in and out of consciousness, sometimes lucid, sometimes delirious with fever. During the lucid moments, she talked. Tell me about your mother, she said once. Jonah was quiet a long time. Why? Because you're risking everything for me. I want to know why. Really, why? He stared at the stars above them. Her name was Ellen. She married my father when she was 16. Didn't know what he was until it was too late. What was he? A drunk, a coward, a man who took his failures out on anyone weaker. His voice was flat, reciting facts without emotion. She tried to leave once. He broke her arm. Sheriff told her marriage was sacred, that she'd made her choice. How old were you? 8. Old enough to understand. Too young to help. She stayed? Where was she going to go? No money, no family, no options. Sound familiar? Lydia's hand found his in the dark. I'm sorry. Don't be. She's the one who taught me that staying quiet is the same as dying slow. That sometimes you have to fight, even when you know you'll lose. Did she fight? At the end, yeah. Fought back one night when he came at her drunk. He killed her for it. Jonah's jaw tightened. And I hid in the barn like a coward while it happened. You were a child. Old enough to know right from wrong. Old enough to know I should have done something. You're doing something now. 20 years too late. Better late than never. She squeezed his hand. Your mother would be proud. He wanted to believe that. Wanted to think Concaid was somewhere watching, seeing her son finally stand up for a woman who needed it. But all he could remember was her screams and his own paralyzed terror. Tell me about your mother, he said, changing the subject. Lydia smiled despite the pain. Sarah Whitmore, strongest woman I ever knew, raised me alone after my father died, taught me to read, write, think for myself. She used to say, a woman's got to be twice as smart and 3 times as tough just to be seen as half as good. Smart woman. She was. That's why I buried the evidence in her grave. Knew she'd protect it even in death. They rode in silence for a while, the wagon creaking, Margaret humming something soft up front. Jonah? Lydia's voice was getting weaker. Yeah? If I don't make it, you'll make it. If I don't, promise me you'll finish this. Promise me Concaid doesn't walk away. I promise. And promise me you'll stop blaming yourself for your mother. You were a child. You survived. That's enough. It's not, it has to be. Because if we only forgive people who were perfect, nobody gets forgiven. Ever. She coughed, tasted blood. I need you to forgive that scared kid in the barn. He deserves it. Jonah didn't answer. Couldn't. Just held her hand and kept watch as the miles disappeared behind them. They made it 20 miles before Concaid's scouts found them. 2 riders coming fast from the west. Margaret saw them first, snapped the reins, tried to coax more speed from the exhausted horses. How far to the next town? Jonah shouted. 10 miles, maybe more. We won't make it. The scouts were closing, rifles out. Jonah grabbed his gun, prepared to make a stand from a moving wagon. Then gunfire erupted from the tree line. Not aimed at them, aimed at the scouts. Both men went down, their horses scattered, and from the trees emerged 5 riders wearing deputy badges. Not from Millstone, from somewhere else. The lead rider pulled alongside the wagon. You Jonah Cade? Who's asking? Name's Marcus Webb, Deputy U.S. Marshal out of Sentinel City. Judge Brennan sent a telegraph 2 days ago requesting federal assistance. We've been riding hard to get here. You're the cavalry. We're what you got. That Mrs. Concaid in the wagon? Yeah. She alive? For now. Marcus looked back at his men. Change of plans. We're not waiting for Sentinel City. We're doing this here. Doing what? Public hearing, mobile court. We've got authority to take testimony and issue warrants anywhere in the territory. He pulled out official-looking papers. We set up in the next town, spread the word, and let people see the evidence for themselves. Make this so public Concaid can't bury it. Margaret spoke up. "She needs medical care. Real care. Next town's got a doctor. We'll get her stable. Then we'll get her justice." They rode into a place called Cedar Falls 3 hours later. Small town, maybe 300 people. The marshal's arrival caused an immediate stir. Federal badges commanded respect that local authority never could. Marcus commandeered the town hall, set up a makeshift courtroom. Within hours, word had spread. People came from surrounding farms and ranches, curious and cautious. And Margaret, working miracles with limited supplies, got Lydia stable enough to testify. "You don't have to do this," Jonah told her. "They've got the documents. That's enough." "No." She was propped in a chair, pale as death, but her eyes were clear. "Documents can be questioned. My voice can't. People need to hear what he did. From me. It could kill you, the strain. Then I'll die telling the truth. Better than dying silent." The hearing began at noon. Marshal Webb presiding, official and proper. He started by reading the charges, showing the documents, explaining the evidence. Then he called Lydia to testify. Jonah helped her to the witness chair. Every movement was agony, but she sat up straight, faced the crowd, and spoke. "My name is Lydia Whitmore Concaid. I was married to Horace Concaid for 8 years, and I'm here to tell you what that marriage cost." The room went silent. "He beat me. Not where people could see, never in public, but in private, when I questioned him, when I didn't smile right, when dinner was late. He beat me and told me I deserved it. Told me I was lucky he loved me enough to teach me how to behave." Some women in the crowd were crying. Some men looked away. But the beating wasn't the worst part. The worst part was watching him do the same thing to this whole territory, taking women who had nowhere else to go, young women, desperate women, women like me, and selling them like cattle. And when anyone asked questions, he either bought their silence or buried them. She pulled out one of the letters, read it aloud. Names, dates, prices. The room reacted with gasps, with anger, with disgust. "He shot me for trying to expose this. Shot me in the back while I was running for my life. And he'll kill everyone in this room if it means protecting his empire." She looked directly at Marshal Webb. "So I'm asking you, I'm begging you, don't let him. Don't let another woman disappear. Don't let fear win." The testimony lasted an hour. When she finished, she collapsed. But she'd done it. She'd made them listen. Marshal Webb stood. "Based on this testimony and the evidence presented, I'm issuing a federal warrant for Horace Concaid's arrest. He's to be taken into custody immediately and held for trial." The crowd erupted in discussion, some supportive, some skeptical, all shocked. And 50 miles away, Horace Concaid heard about the mobile hearing and the federal warrant and realized he'd lost control of the story. His response came at midnight. He burned 4 ranches belonging to men who'd testified at the hearing, killed 2 deputies who tried to stop him, left a message nailed to a tree outside Cedar Falls. "The woman is mine. The evidence is lies. Anyone who stands with her dies with her." Jonah read it by torchlight and felt something cold settle in his chest. This wasn't ending in a courtroom. This was ending in blood. Marshal Webb read the message again, then looked at Jonah. "He's coming here. Tonight, tomorrow, soon, with everything he's got. Let him come. You're one man. I've got 5 deputies. He'll bring 50, maybe more. Then we evacuate the town, get the civilians out. And then what? We make our stand? 6 against 50? Jonah looked through the window at Lydia, sleeping fitfully in the doctor's office across the street. We do whatever it takes to keep her alive long enough to see him hang. She might not last that long. Doc says the fever's getting worse. Then we make sure the next few days count. Margaret appeared in the doorway, face drawn. She's asking for you. Jonah crossed the street, found Lydia awake but shaking with chills despite the blankets piled on her. He took her hand. It was burning hot. How bad? She whispered. Doesn't matter. You're going to be fine. Don't lie to me. Not now. He sat beside her bed. Fever's high. Wounds infected despite everything Margaret did. But you're still here. Still fighting. Concaid's coming. Yeah. You should run. Take the evidence. Get it to Sentinel City. Let me be the distraction this time. No. Jonah, I'm dying anyway. At least let my death. You're not dying. I won't allow it. She almost laughed, but it turned into a cough. You don't get to decide that. Watch me. Marshal Webb entered, hat in hand. Ma'am, I need to ask you something. About Warren Cole. Lydia's eyes focused. What about him? We got word an hour ago. Concaid's men caught up to him outside Silver Creek. There was a fight. Her breath caught. Is he dead? Him and 4 of Concaid's men. But before he died, he got the evidence to a telegraph office, sent copies to newspapers in 4 different cities. By tomorrow, this whole territory will know what Concaid is. Tears slipped down Lydia's face. He knew he wouldn't make it. Yes, ma'am, but he made it count. His daughter's name, Rebecca, it's in every paper now, along with the other 36 women. People are reading about what happened to them, about what Concaid did. Will it be enough? To convict him? Maybe. To destroy his reputation? Absolutely. The man who controlled this territory through fear and money just became the monster everyone whispers about. He's finished, even if he never sees a jail cell. But Concaid wasn't acting like a finished man. He arrived at dawn with 73 armed riders and enough rage to burn the world. They surrounded Cedar Falls, blocked every road, cut the telegraph lines. Then Concaid himself rode down Main Street like a king, surveying conquered territory. Marshal Webb met him in the street, badge visible, rifle in hand. Horace Concaid, you're under arrest by federal authority. Concaid didn't even slow down. No, I'm not. I have a warrant. I don't care about your warrant. I care about my wife and the lies she's spreading, and the men who helped her. She's told the truth. The evidence proves it. The evidence is forged. The testimony is delusional. And this farce ends now. Concaid gestured to his men. Bring her out. Bring out anyone who helped her. Or we burn this town to the ground and pick through the ashes. You can't. I can. I will. You've got 5 deputies. I've got 70 men. The math isn't complicated. Jonas stepped out of the doctor's office, gun visible, but not drawn. She's not going anywhere. Concaid's eyes locked on him. The drifter, still here, still playing hero, still standing between you and her. You've cost me everything. My reputation, my business, my control over this territory. Men I've owned for years are turning against me because of her lies. They're not lies. Doesn't matter anymore. Truth, lies, it's all the same once the damage is done. So I'm going to do what I should have done the day she ran. I'm going to end this. Permanently. He raised his hand to signal his men. And that's when Judge Brennan appeared at the end of the street. Not alone. Behind him came 40 men. Farmers, ranchers, shopkeepers. Men whose daughters, wives, sisters had read about Rebecca Cole and the other 36 women. Men who'd seen the evidence and decided that silence wasn't acceptable anymore. Brennan walked forward, unarmed, hands visible. "This ends peacefully, Concaid, or it ends with every man here choosing a side, and I don't think the odds are as good as you believe." Concaid stared at the reinforcements. "You're bluffing." "Try me." For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Concaid's face. "These are farmers, civilians. They won't fight." "You trafficked their daughters, killed their friends, corrupted their officials. They'll fight. Question is, whether you're willing to die proving it." The street was silent. Every man's hand near a weapon. Every breath held. Then Lydia appeared in the doctor's office doorway. She could barely stand. Margaret was holding her up, practically carrying her. But she was there, visible, defiant. "Horace," she said, voice weak but clear. "It's over." He stared at her. "Come home, please. We can fix this." "There's nothing to fix. You killed Warren. You destroyed lives. You built an empire on suffering. And now everyone knows." "They know lies." "They know the truth. And the truth is, you're not powerful. You're not special. You're just a man who hurt people weaker than him and called it strength." His face contorted. "I loved you. You owned me. There's a difference. I gave you everything. You gave me bruises and fear and shame. And you took 8 years of my life that I'll never get back." She took a shaky step forward. "But you don't get another second. Not from me, not from anyone." Something broke in Concaid's expression. The mask of control, of confidence, shattered. What remained was rage, pure and desperate. "If I can't have you, nobody will." He drew his gun. Jonah's hand was faster. The shot echoed across the street. Concaid's gun fell from his hand. He looked down at the blood spreading across his chest, shocked. You shot me." "Yeah." Jonah's gun was steady. "I shot you." Concaid stumbled, fell to his knees. His men didn't move, didn't raise weapons, just watched their employer bleed in the dirt. Marshal Webb walked over, kicked Concaid's gun away. "Horace Concaid, you're under arrest for murder, human trafficking, and attempted murder of a federal witness." Concaid laughed, bloody and bitter. "Doesn't matter. I'm dying anyway." "Then you'll die in custody." "Will I see trial?" "Probably not, but you'll see a jail cell. And you'll know that everything you built is gone. That's going to have to be enough." Concaid's eyes found Lydia one last time. "I did love you, in my way. Your way was the problem." He closed his eyes, died 30 seconds later, still on his knees in the street. His men scattered. Some rode off. Others surrendered. None fought. Without Concaid's money and threats, his empire collapsed like a house built on sand. Lydia collapsed too. Margaret caught her, lowered her gently to the ground. "I need the doctor," Margaret shouted. "Now!" The doctor came running, but everyone could see the truth. The fever had won. The infection had spread too far. "Helped him. You did it." She smiled, weak. "Helped him. You did it." She smiled, weak but genuine. "We did it. You stood when everyone else looked away. Because you taught me how. You showed me what courage looks like. Your mother taught you. I just reminded you." Her breathing was shallow now, irregular. "Lydia, please, don't give up." "Not giving up, just letting go. It's different." She squeezed his hand. "Promise me, you'll keep fighting. For the women still missing, for the ones who can't speak. I promise. And promise me, you'll forgive yourself, for your mother, for everything. I can't. You have to. Because carrying that won't bring her back, won't fix anything. You have to let go too. Her eyes closed. Her breathing stopped. Margaret checked for a pulse, shook her head. Jonah sat there holding her hand, feeling the warmth leave it, and something inside him shattered and reformed simultaneously. She'd lived long enough to see justice start, to see Concaid fall, to know her fight mattered. Maybe that was enough. The funeral was 3 days later. Half the territory attended. Women who'd never spoken about their own abuse came forward to thank her memory. Men who'd stayed silent admitted their shame and vowed to do better. The evidence she'd buried led to 17 arrests. 3 judges were removed from office. The sheriff who'd worked for Concaid fled the territory and was never seen again. Federal marshals found 8 women who'd been trafficked, still alive, in mining camps and railroad towns. They were freed, given support, offered paths home or forward, whatever they needed. Rebecca Cole's body was found in an unmarked grave. Warren and his daughter were buried side by side. Jonah stayed for all of it, testified at every trial, made sure Lydia's story was told accurately, completely. Then he did something he'd never done before. He went home, back to the farm where his mother died, where his father drank himself to death 2 years after killing her, where a scared 12-year-old boy had hidden while the woman who gave him life screamed for help he was too terrified to give. The house was still standing, barely, rotted and abandoned. Jonah walked inside, stood in the kitchen where it happened. "I'm sorry," he said to the empty room, to the ghost of Ellen Cade. "I'm sorry I didn't save you. But I saved someone else. I stood up when it mattered. I hope that counts for something." The silence didn't answer, but somehow it felt different, lighter. He left the farm and didn't look back. 3 months later, a letter found him in Silver Creek. It was from Margaret, Warren's widow. She'd opened a home for women escaping violence, a place where they could heal, learn trades, start over. Who hurt them? To be honest, respectful. Who hurt them? To be honest, respectful, present. Would you consider it? Jonah considered it for exactly 1 day. Then he packed his things and rode to Lydia's house. He spent the next 5 years there, teaching women to shoot so they could protect themselves, helping them find work, standing guard when angry husbands came looking for their property, making it clear that any man who wanted to hurt these women would have to go through him first. He never married, never settled. But he built something better than a family. He built a legacy. And every morning when he woke up, he thought about 3 women. His mother, who'd taught him the cost of silence. Lydia, who'd shown him the power of speaking up. And the version of himself who'd hidden in a barn while someone needed him. He forgave that boy, not because the boy deserved it, but because carrying that weight didn't help anyone. And Lydia had been right. Letting go wasn't giving up. It was choosing to live forward instead of dying backward. The territory changed after Concaid fell. Slowly, imperfectly, but genuinely. Women started speaking up about abuse. Communities started listening. Laws changed. Protection became possible in ways it hadn't been before. Not because one woman had died for justice, but because she'd lived for it first. Because she'd refused to be silent, to be invisible, to be property. Because she'd looked at an empire built on cruelty and said no. And because one drifter with a guilty conscience had decided that this one time, he wouldn't look away. Justice didn't fix everything. The scars remained, the trauma echoed. 36 women were still dead, their lives stolen. But their names were known now, their stories told, and the man who'd profited from their suffering died bleeding in the street, his power shattered, his legend destroyed. Sometimes that had to be enough. Jonah understood that now. Understood that you couldn't save everyone, couldn't undo every wrong, couldn't make the world perfect. But you could stand up when someone needed it. You could refuse to participate in cruelty. You could choose courage over comfort. And sometimes, if you were lucky and stubborn and willing to pay the price, that choice rippled outward in ways you'd never see. Lydia Whitmore had started as a woman running from a bullet. She'd ended as the spark that burned down an empire. And Jonah Cade, the man who'd caught her when she fell, had learned that redemption didn't come from forgetting the past. It came from refusing to repeat it. He carried that lesson for the rest of his life. And he never, not once, looked away when someone needed him. Because courage isn't the absence of fear, it's action despite it. And justice isn't a destination. It's a choice you make every single day to stand with the vulnerable instead of the powerful. Lydia had made that choice, knowing it would cost her everything. Jonah had made it, trying to save someone he'd never met. And together, they'd proven that even in the darkest territories, even against the cruelest men, even when the odds were impossible, standing up still mattered. Speaking up still changed things. And one person's refusal to be silent could break chains that had held people captive for generations. That was Lydia's legacy. That was the truth she died to expose. And it was the truth Jonah Cade spent the rest of his life defending. Not because it was easy, but because it was right. And sometimes, right was all you had. But right was enough.